All right, kids. So I had fun doing the afternoon live stream yesterday. I figured, what the hell? I'm going to go old school on you. Anytime something pops up and I'm like, hey, I got something to say, I'm going to just do a live stream. Why the hell not? This popped into my Twitter feed. I mean, I go to Comic Vine a lot, but this is something called Games Radar and everything. It's got to talk about it, dude. X-Men, the Hellfire Gala 2023 delivers a bad idea in a terrible way. It's a horrible comic book. We did a review of it. VENKMAN and I did a review of it. It was like an hour long just talking about how bad this book was. This, however, this dude is saying it sends a horrible message, and I think his message is horrible. So figure, okay, this could be fun. Let's check this out, okay? Once again, it's Games Radar. This dude, what's his name? George Marston here. Didn't he invent the Wonder Womans and all that? Alrighty, this is an opinion piece. So obviously he's entitled to his opinion, blah, 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 blah. But I'm entitled to, will you stop picking the back of my head, please? Alrighty, Bert. But he's like right behind me and he's clipping on the hat there. Okay. He says, we need to talk about the ending of X-Men, the Hellfire Gala 2023. Needless to say, spoilers. And yes, of course, we're going to spoil it like that book wasn't already spoiled. Short take, there's a lot of death. And the thing is it's meaningless because, you know, they can instantly fix it. And so it's not a story as much. It's a whole bunch of shock value. And it's just, it's empty. It's a very empty book. Okay, so it goes on. What everyone thought was going to happen has happened. Krakoa has fallen. The X-Men are dead or scattered to the wind. And the latest iteration of Xavier's dream is apparently over. In other words, as promised, Fall of X has kicked off with devastating change in status quo for mutants in the Marvel Universe for now. We could, and he says we could get into the gut-wrenching blow-by-blow of 23, blah, 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 talking about all the death. Orcus conducts an elaborate pre-planned attack on Krakoa. We've already talked about that. He ends up taking out a whole bunch of X-Men, poisoning the medicine that humans have been taking to the point where he can kill the humans. This is basically just a recap. Here's where things get really bad, with Krakoa essentially depopulating mutants now blamed for the deaths of all humans who have fallen victim to Orcus poisoning. The old hated and feared status quo is resumed. Good. And good. I'm sorry, but you know what? It's what makes horse racing. You know, it's what makes the X-Men the X-Men. And they should have been feared. They were stealing freaking children. The X-Men should never be stealing. Oh, your child's a mutant. He's coming with us. No, I don't want him to. Well, you have no choice. Yeah, it's kidnapping. I stopped reading, by the way, to give you a little heads up. I stopped reading X-Men maybe 2-3 issues into this whole island thing. It's a horrible, horrible thing. Okay, so as for the mutants who went through the gates, well, according to Xavier, they're all dead. Orcus did something to the gates, and that he has lost all connection to the mutants who went through. That just means he lost connection. Doesn't mean they're dead. Anyway, so either Marvel Comics just killed 250,000 mutants off panel, or they want both readers and Xavier to believe they did. Except for if you've been reading for a while, they are not believing this. The Jedi did that, basically, says the ethereal dragon. What was it? Order 66 or something like that. Okay, once again, murder, wholesale, and genocide that happens in a blink of an eye across just a few text bubbles. Guy goes on to say, I'm not going to pretend that it's impossible or even unlikely that the situation is a fake out or more complicated than a genocide of 250,000 mutants. But reading those lines, especially after witnessing the most powerful mutants in the Marvel Universe rendered essentially helpless against bigot murderers, I had a truly visceral reaction to the very concept. Of course you did. Of course you did. This is one of those cases where, how do you think this guy votes? Seriously. How do you think this guy votes being like this? First of all, when it comes right down to it, if you're angry, if you're and you like the book, then that's a good thing. Like, I'm not angry at the book. I didn't think it was going to be good. I was right. But this guy's obviously angry at the book. Now, are you going to continue reading X-Men? Do you think this is a good thing? Did it intrigue you to go? Because that's what the freaking comics should be doing. The comics need you to be afraid for the characters in damn near every instance. That's why they have the covers that they do. That's why it was horseshit for people to go against that Joker cover with Batgirl. You want her to be in danger on the cover so people go, well, holy crap, how is she going to get out of this? It's the same with the X-Men. He said it in this paragraph right here. Yeah, I know that it's unlikely the situation is a fake out or more complicated than what we're seeing. More than likely, yes. So the curiosity should be, well, how they're going to get out of it. That's not the message this dumbass is taking away from it. I'm also not going to be so naive as to imagine that a kind of nauseated horror isn't exactly the kind of reaction writer Gary Duggan. Is it Jerry Dugan? Jerry Duggan? Gary Duggan? Gary Dugan? Because I've always said Gary Dugan, but I don't know. I pronounce a lot of names wrong, apparently. Just ask the Simonsons. And the over a dozen artists and colorists who worked on the one shot. By the way, that was a horrible idea because you would have good art, bad art, good art, bad art. It was very uneven. There's a sense of genuine heartbreak, sorrow, and even fear generated by 2023's Hellfire Gala that is the direct product of the book's creation and artistry. I'm going to say, hey, look, I'm glad you think that way, to the writer I'm talking, because it tells me you're not as jaded and cynical as I am when it comes to death in comics. If you had that visceral reaction, it's a good thing. And this guy's saying it's not. But here you go. The central message in the story is that Orchis hates mutants, sees them as different, wishes to marginalize. I hate that word now. Marginalize. Like, why are you marginalizing people? Don't say I am, because I'm not part of your freaking games, but I hear that all the time. And even physically destroy them. They are an out-and-out hate group rendered on the comics page, a direct reflection of the so-called mutant metaphor of the X-Men as stand-ins for real marginalized people. Horseshit. Horseshit, horseshit, horseshit. One more time. Horseshit. The X-Men don't stand for any one group. They are everybody. They are every freaking person who's ever felt like an outsider. This is every teenager. Every middle schooler out there who's not quite there yet, you know? That's why X-Men was such a big success in the 80s and 90s, because literally they represent everybody, because we've all felt that way at some point in time. These modern day writers just go, oh no, they are this identity group, or they're that identity group, or they're right and wrong at the same time. They're all of them. They're all of them. God damn, people. You know, move away from comics if you can't freaking get that one little thing right. Okay, so it goes on. Let's see. Where are we? Mutant hate mutants. They are an out-and-out hate group rendered on the comics page, a direct reflection of the so-called mutant metaphor of the X-Men as stand-ins for marginalized people, blah, blah, blah. The problem then is that watching a fictional hate group commit fictional mass violence against a population of fictional marginalized people feels a lot like inviting readers to witness a hate crime. The thrill that comes from 2023's Hellfire Gala feels a lot less like a tragic superhero story and way more like standing inside the carnage of a very real hate crime that currently fills the news in the United States. This guy's freaking bonkers. First of all, he's mentioning the X-Men, of course. He's mentioning marginalized groups. What he's not saying, of course, is that it's everybody. Would he not feel that way if he felt that the X-Men were standing for white people? And only white people? Would he feel that way? Because what he's saying is, since they are stand-ins for the marginalized, that's the problem. It's not that a whole bunch of people got murdered. It's not that there's all the violence. It's who the violence was done to. One set is okay, one set is not okay. That's this guy's message. I'm telling you, it's all not okay. But if the book made you feel something, you amazing, stupid person, then you should be celebrating it. Congratulations. I read the same book, Stone-Faced. Seen it, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, wore the t-shirt out, grew up, still wearing stupid geek t-shirts. Anywho, let's move on here. He goes on to say, Marvel is forcing the mutant metaphor back to the forefront by resuming the X-Men's long past its expiration date, hated and feared status quo. Once again, only embracing the concept of mutants as marginalized people. Once again, I hate that word. It's one of those words that they destroyed, you know, like problematic and Nazi and racist and all that kind of stuff. It means nothing anymore. But marginalized is special because they're the ones that are doing it while accusing other people. Let's see. In order to widen the impact, when Marvel, a publisher primarily led by people who don't share in the metaphor, decides a genocide is in order. It's ugly. It's hard to read. It's disheartening. It should be. I'm sorry, but it should be. A mass murder, a genocide like that should be hard to read. And apparently, if it were a bunch of white people, he'd be okay with it. But the thing is when you are in the political group that's saying there is actually a genocide going on, which is not, if you see a book that's trying to point out that, hey, yeah, this is, and by his words, this represents that genocide, then you're mad that somebody's bringing it to the forefront, that somebody's putting it into a work of fiction so people can maybe get the allegory. Okay. So anyway, I'm not accusing Jerry Dugan or Marvel editorial of anything but failure to consider the long view. I don't think Dugan or any of the creators involved are expressing a repressed attitude towards some marginalized group. Alrighty. How kind of you. How kind of you, ass. I'm not, I do think they're really not considering how it feels to be, say, a trans person reading this story, watching what mutants have built for themselves be destroyed while hundreds of thousands of them are apparently killed off panel with a few word balloons. While in the real world, legislation is increasingly targeting the lives and liberty of actual living trans people across the United States. Or maybe they are. Maybe they're thinking, you know what? Hey, you know, we know that some people are going to feel this and we want them to, because in their politics, they believe that this stuff is going on and they want people so freaking hyper aware of it that it's constantly in the conversation. Fiction should reflect life. Stories should be told that that confront difficult and even horrifying topics. There is a place where these metaphors should be explored and truths should be exposed through the works of fantasy. Yeah, fantasy for reality is done, but if you make it too close to reality, yeah, it's bad. It's just bad. Is there anybody else in the oh, hey guys, all right, we got 10 watching. Hell, the last comment was like 8 minutes ago, so I'm wondering. All right, it says but it feels more and more like Marvel Comics only wants to acknowledge those ideas when it's time to destroy them, without that thought for how the metaphor actually reflects the real world and the people in it. Well, here's another thing. Comic books have to have conflict in them, or they suck. Just look at damn near 10 years worth of Marvel Comics now, where it's like, oh, let's go one punch the bad guy, and then we can get back to our coffee talk. We are mutant. We only know the fight, resist. These are some of Jean Grey's last words as she dies, physically stealing Firestar for her role in the post-Krakoa future. But they read far more ominously than the script likely intends, because they belie the real-world neoliberal approach to coexistence that is intent on always casting marginalized people to the side, asking us to resist. Once again, who are the marginal? Who are you marginalized? Who do you put? You say, okay, we're regular folk and we can go about our days, but you're lowered. You have been weakened. You have been made lesser than other people. I would like to know who this person counts as that. I swear to gosh, these people who call other people racist are incredibly racist themselves. All right. And promising that they're doing all they can to slow down a moving train of violent bigotry without ever actually putting on the brakes. This makes Gene's line come off almost like a bad punchline, an expression of the best we can do style politics of the real world. It may as well come with a hashtag, like most things. Marvel's Mutant Metaphor asks to see ourselves in the X-Men to project a fantasy of personal power onto our own circumstances. It flattens the narratives of real-world bigotry in favor of superhero drama, but the end point is always the same. Hatred and fear and hunted. Genocide. It hurts to be asked to see myself in population that, even in fiction, can't be allowed to move on from an existence of desperation and the ramifications of bigotry. Okay. You got to have the conflict. You got to have a starting point and an end point, the hero's journey. You have to be able to say, I'm here. I have all of these things in front of me. I will overcome them, and boom. In this case, we just saw a whole bunch of people wiped out. They're coming back. But the whole thing is, right now we have the X-Men at their lowest point. So how did see how I'm arcing or arching, as some people say? Yeah, there you go. Story arc. There you go. Character arc. There you go. Congratulations, you idiot freaking writer at the Games Radar. That happens. That's supposed to be the freaking story. You know, Empire Strikes Back. Fantastic freaking movie. Best of the Star Wars. Ends on a downer note. Now we get to see how they come back. See how it works. I can't believe idiots like this. I don't know how old this guy is. I honestly don't. I see this kind of stuff touted by, oh my gosh, my glasses left the line. I see this stuff touted by people my age, and I don't understand that. Because 10 years ago, this wasn't believed. 15 years ago, it definitely wasn't believed. 20 years ago, this was never on anybody's radar. These are false. I have referred to them as false thoughts because they're not earned. Someone on Twitter told them to think this way, and now they're heading towards that direction. That's what they're doing here. It's fake, because tomorrow, when the winds change, they're going to be saying something else. Remember, now they're saying, and they're going against women's spaces. Women are not women anymore. The only women are the men who say they're women. Women are birthing people. Women are people with uterus, egg layers, and all sorts of, or what was it? The bonus holes. That is okay. And you know what? That wasn't said not but 5 years ago. Wasn't the whole hashtag Me Too thing going on? And people were like, oh, got to protect the women. Twitter told them to change, and they changed it. This shit is fake. Fake as hell. So yeah, I don't buy into this outrage. It's ridiculously stupid, but we've got people out there and they're talking about this with the comics, with the movies and everything. Hey, Phil, what's up? How's it going, Mike? They seem to see fiction as real life. Apparently they want it in the conversation, but only if it goes their way. I mean, seriously, it seems like they want the coffee talk. Like I said, let's go one punch a sentinel, and then we'll get back to our coffee and we'll talk about whatever show kids are watching these days, Family Ties or the Cosby Show. Doubtful. The young heroes are writing. I don't know. What are we supposed to expect from these people? Those sound like derogatory they use for females. Yes, they all are. But once again, 5 years ago, the hashtag Me Too thing. But Twitter said different. Now we're kicking women out of women's spaces. Men are talk. Shut up. Men are talk. That's I got some problems, by the way, because I actually said the words. The whole transgender movement boils down to shut up, men are talking. That's it. Oh, we're women now. Wait, shut up, men are talking. That's what it comes down to. Women, shut up, men are talking. Some people don't like that. Anyway, guys, that's my take on this article. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you don't mind helping out the channel, there's a Ko-Fi link drop $1 in the tip jar. There's actually a tip. They got a tip jar. There you go. Okay. At the very least, it'll help pay for the StreamYard, and I definitely appreciate that. Also, don't forget to do all the clicking and liking and stuff. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. You kids have a great time. Oh, I hate this awkward part because it reminds me of like the ending of TV shows. Like I should just freeze and